the question really is only partially about whether the information which is held with the on the UID-AI database can be misused. The point is, what does the UID-AI do? It produces this number which it is working very hard, and this chairperson is working very hard to have seeded onto every database. It is working actively and not as a fallout or as an unintended consequence. It is working for convergence of databases. It is working for profiling of people. It is working openly saying that it will help track people. It's helping surveillance techniques. It is a process by which if you are not on it, you don't exist. It's determinative of identities. So when we are talking about abuse of this data, it's not just about the data that they collect, because it will seem like, oh, it's just, I just have this number, I just have your name, your address, very basic data and some biometrics. How can any of this be misused? So at one level, it is true that there is misuse that's possible there, but I'll come to that in a bit. But the point is that the production of that UID number and pushing for it to be on every database is one way that they are making sure that there will be various kinds of uses, and I use uses within inverted commas. So you can call them abuses, you can call them misuses, you can just call them uses, but the potential for each of these things that I mentioned a while ago are so huge, and you can already see that that's the intention. They're actually talking about each of these. They're talking about tracking migrants, tracking children, tracking dropouts. They're talking about knowing who these people are through the various databases being converged. And without convergence of databases, they say, how are we going to weed out anything? So we need to do it. Essentially, every individual in this country, because technology now, according to them, permits it, I still believe it hasn't reached that stage, but that, because it may permit it, we should now be able to tell each individual who they are, what they were through their life. Because remember that the ambition of this project is not temporal, it's intertemporal. It kind of goes across temporality. So, that's the kind of ambition, that's the kind of monstrous vision that this project has. And it's difficult for me to, forget that that's the eyes through which this project is being viewed. On the data itself, when they started, they said they would be taking only minimal data. But take just even within that, take what they've done. They've got man, woman, transgender. It's all very nice to be politically correct and put in whatever you want, but did they at all discuss what it would mean, who can use it, who can access it, what kind of abuses transgendered are subjected to in this country? We haven't even looked at the sociological consequences of it. It's treated as if just acknowledging that a person is you're not acknowledging it with that person. This is a governance structure, this is a top-down thing. So if today it's alright to be transgender, tomorrow it might not, and then you don't know where you are with it. The other kind of thing is that, when they started, they did not ask for things like bank account numbers, they didn't ask for mobile phones, email addresses. Now it's like a marketing transaction, place. And they have a clause there which says that, do you give your consent for us to hand this data over to anybody? It's like an information giving consent. And it's a blanket consent. And we've noticed that, of course, the default mode is yes. To any person who provides you with any service. So even the boot black provides a service. So, and that includes, and they are clear, that includes biometric data. So the idea of, and let's also remember that Mr. Nilekani is also the author of another report called the Tag Up Report, Technology Advisory Group on Unique Projects, where he says that, that report says that they're going to set up these national information utilities which will collect all the data that the government has, make private companies which will hold this data, which will, according to them, act in the public interest for profit making, not profit maximizing. So they are talking about data as the new property. And this is the data about a population that is being collected and handed over. They want it to be handed over to private companies. Even the UID database is now owned by the UID-AI, which, like I said, we don't know who they are, and it's owned by them. So the idea of data as property and of population data as property is a very strong component of this whole project. So when you ask about can it be abused, misused, whatever, the point is that once you have it in your hands, you're a good guy, you may not misuse it. You may be a good guy, but then some friend of yours may want it, you might want to help them with it. It's like you're opening up something that people don't have any business opening.